hot. Sweating out. All right, cool.
I can even say that. I can say, don't worry, you don't have to wear it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. All right, cool. Okay, welcome to another episode of the Spenno Circuit, Talking Tech. We've got some exciting guests here today. We have Crestron in. So I've been working with this particular gentleman from Crestron for nearly 15 years now. And over the years, I've seen Crestron go from strength to strength and remain one of the leaders in AV video. And they've since moved into Teams and other areas, which we can get into a little bit. But I'd like to welcome Matthew Buck to the podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Great. Now, this is just a general chat, so we're just going to talk around technology, how you found the change in technology over the years from COVID, and, of course, how that relates to yourself and Crestron. So I guess we start off with how has Crestron's year been? How have you found things recently?
Things are good, actually. I always touch wood whenever I say that. Things at the moment are good. You know, we don't like spending a lot of time looking backwards. Of course, we're going to look forward, but you know, the elephant in the room whenever we talk to customers is always the challenges that we saw through supply chain and things we saw through there.
Yeah.
But the majority of what we're trying to do and the general message and the feeling within the team is to try and remain consistent. That's the thing. And thankfully, things are going in the right direction. We're a really steady ship. Things are very, very much under control as far as supply chain is concerned at Crestron.
Yeah.
And just moving in the right direction. So it's been a good year. I always say it cautiously, but no, so far, yeah.
Well, we all felt the pain. It wasn't just Crestron, but I'm sure a lot of the manufacturers got a lot grayer over those years, and then the semiconductor shortage, which affected everybody.
I certainly got grayer and less of it.
But yeah, thank God for hair for men. Hey, so
absolutely quite right too.
Yeah. And it was frustrating for everyone, right? Integrators, end users, customers. It was one of those strange, weird times where it seems such a long time ago now, but I think some of the scars are still there, right, from that. But thank God we've managed to move on. And a lot of the suppliers, I mean, you guys were badly affected, but so was everybody.
Yeah, I think we always like to be the best at everything we do. So let's just say that we exceeded expectations in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
But joking aside, the experience that we went through was not particularly fun, but the good thing is it's made us stronger and it's made us in a much better position commercially as a company.
Yeah.
And we are very, very much in a positive groove. Everything's going in the right direction. And as I say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And,
exactly.
and that's definitely where we are. So we are absolutely fighting fit. And, you know, I've seen a lot of change. I mean, I've been at Crestron 14 years as of next month. So seen a lot of change in the company, you know, not only as we've moved into new market sectors and things like that. But, you know, we've gone from a company that everything shipped next day and everything was always last minute and, you know, everything was always just in time. And the world changed and shifted and demands upon the business and us personally as we went through COVID changed. And it was interesting times all round. It was definitely challenging, but we got through it.
Well, I think it really accelerated the AV world. I think personally that it was a hard time, and like you say, you survived it, and we got through. And I think everyone who got through that, nobody got through unscathed, but I think the people who survived really learned from it and got stronger from it, and you kind of realize you can't take things for granted.
No, you can't.
In life and in technology. So.
And it changed the landscape. I think that's the main thing around it. It changed the landscape. It changed who we perceived as competitors. It changed who the market sort of saw as different manufacturers that they wanted to engage with on projects. And that's only a good thing, you know, for overall product development internally for us and for our competition as well. That only makes the market better and stronger as we go forward to drive technology into the right direction. You know, it's as you know, people always say with this, you need a competitor. You need to have business
healthy competition.
It's got to be healthy. As long as we win.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're the same, don't we? So what do you think the biggest change has been? So COVID gave probably the whole world a bit of a kick up the butt and the whole world changed, right? So we've gone to this instantly within 2 years. We've all gone from standard, everybody goes to the office, pretty much. Everybody works from an office to this whole hybrid working, which I think people are still trying to get their heads around.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think have been some of the biggest changes? And I guess to bring it back to Crestron, what has Crestron done to help facilitate some of those changes?
Well, if I take our showroom, actually, it's probably a really good example of where we had in London. We took the keys for our showroom February 2020, so it couldn't have been worse as far as timing for us as to when we launched that. And we very much had designed and specified that space based on what we saw that the market wanted, what our customers would want to come and see when it came to that space. And very, very quickly, we saw that it was completely irrelevant because, we'd focused on having interactive touch technology and no one wanted to touch anything. We had huddle rooms, no one wanted to huddle. Everything in that space was just wrong. And we had to very quickly change the way in which we use that. And it went from being a destination that people went to us having to demonstrate everything remotely, which we hadn't designed or considered at all. So through the 3 iterations that we had of that space as it moved forward and the technology that changed, it went from being, like I say, this sort of, lots of boxes, products and things that people had to come in and see and touch, to suddenly being a very much remote Teams and Zoom to a lesser extent, actually what we did in the showroom, but Teams and Zoom focused remote demonstrations. And actually where we got to the 3rd and final iteration of the design was actually changing all of that to being a working example of a meeting space. We created 3 separate environments within that. And the biggest shift that we saw technology-wise was actually moving away from, as I say, the products that you touch and saw, the touch panels and processors, our core business that we used to look at, and going into intelligent video. And intelligent video is what we branded, if you like, One Beyond, which is the intelligent video camera tracking products that we have. And that has been the biggest shift and a change of mindset for us at Crestron. And that's the driving force that we've got going forward.
Great. I know, well, going back to when you mentioned about the showrooms, that it is interesting, isn't it? I always find that the ethos used to be go into the showroom to see the kit, but really it's the far end experience that matters anyway. All that equipment is just there to facilitate the experience of the people on the far end, not actually necessarily in the room. Obviously, to a small extent, the people in the room, but really that technology is there to capture and bring in the people from outside the room.
It is.
Which does kind of bring in the One Beyond. I mean, just for those who don't know, if you can, I know you bought a company recently around sort of camera tracking.
Yes, it's a number of years ago, 3-4 years ago.
3-4 years ago.
Yeah, One Beyond Technologies.
Yeah, so just for people to get an understanding if they don't know, just a little overview of what One Beyond is.
So One Beyond and their history, if you like, where the product goes, is it's an automated broadcasting product. So the idea being that you have multiple cameras within a environment that will automatically switch based on the active speaker, but not having cameras moving. Because a lot of, certainly these high impact boardrooms, presentation spaces, auditorium, stuff like that. So, if somebody was going to be managing those cameras in a manual scenario, you would never see the cameras panning and tilting and zooming around and making everybody feel sick. So you have those broadcast cuts and transitions between shots, and that's the core ethos of what One Beyond is. It's multiple cameras, as I say, all that are lined up and set so that as people will speak, the cameras will move, and then you get that broadcast transition every single time. And we can have a quantity of cameras, up to 12 using our own, but actually using some third-party product, we can go up to 40 cameras now. Into really large applications. So yes, that automated broadcast experience.
And is that done with like AI technology, or how's that done in the background, or is it just processing, or? So
AI, it's a big broad brushstroke, isn't it? So we say, so all of our product, like our cameras, they all say AI driven. We say we have this, and actually one of the features we have in the product we call visual AI. It's been developed using AI, and it's a product which is configured and programmed using AI technology, but it's not actually a learning platform. And that's one of the key things around One Beyond, where we currently are, that everything is programmed and configured so that it will work day one as it will day 1000.
So it's got a set of parameters that it's programmed to do. It doesn't start
Correct, exactly. And
Becoming
the way
Skynet.
when we start getting into the AI that we use, and like our visual AI that we call it, the idea being, let's say for example, that you've got a shot in a boardroom where there's 3 seats, and actually there's only you sat in the third seat on the end. But what you don't need is 2 empty chairs in that shot. So the idea being that when it goes to that shot in advance, the processor will analyze what's in the shot and go to just you as that one person, so to make best use of the cut. So to get a better experience for the far end, and also things like if you were to sort of lean back or move or anything else in shot, again it will make sure that you are front and center. And we've also got directional AI is another thing we've got as well now that we've brought out again through another firmware update. So if people are looking the other direction, the idea being that the camera can actually switch,
see where your eyes are kind of looking,
and that's exactly what it's doing. It's analyzing using sort of nose and eyes, and it will then triangulate and pick the appropriate camera. So
cool.
we use AI so loosely is what I'd say within that product, but there's a lot of development. Got some really exciting things coming out next year. You'll see developments around it.
Well, it's moving so fast. I mean, even in the 2 or 3 years that you've been taken over from One Beyond, I've seen a massive jump in what it can do. So just out of pure interest, what's the biggest project in the amount of cameras wise you've done with One Beyond so far?
Well, it's using ours, 12 cameras, which is funny when customers come into our showroom and they start talking about projects and we say, look, these are the numbers of cameras that we could use. We could utilize up to 12. You see, most of them sort of sit back and go, 12? Why have we got 12 cameras going on in these spaces? And then when you start talking about getting, best practices as far as positions of those cameras and clean production shots of many of those locations, you see how those improve. The 12 camera is more common than people realize, because what we've named sightline. So the idea being, think of a traditional boardroom. You have your display up at one end, and then everybody in the room is then talking. And if you like, when they're not presenting to the camera or to the far end, you don't get a great shot, because you're always going to be looking that other direction rather than directly into the camera. So the idea of sightline is that you have displays and cameras mounted on multiple walls. So the idea being whichever one is nearest to your direct sightline to look at the content or to the far end are the cameras that you're going to use. So in most cases, we'll pair up the cameras. So suddenly you have a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
Side by side.
Absolutely, yeah. So you can put them. You can invert the cameras as well, as long as they're not eye tracking cameras.
Okay.
You can do that as well. So the time where it's more, and say we can utilize third party products as well into One Beyond. Let's say go up to 40 cameras, which is a lot.
That is a lot.
There's more and more applications that are coming out, and as you say, it's moved on a long way. Since Crestron acquired One Beyond, they have completely launched all new hardware, so it's now Crestron hardware from the ground up.
Yep.
The software is Crestron from the ground up. All of the firmware updates, everything else, it's now all
in the ecosystem.
Crestron, yeah, exactly. So it has come on a long way, and it's going to continue to develop. It's a very fast moving product for us.
Amazing. And is that so? Obviously, that's one of your big drivers for the coming years. What else in the Crestron world are you looking? Because this is it's a really good guide for where the world is going, because you've got a lot of people sitting in a room thinking about where the world is going to go and trying to get ahead of the curve. So what's coming for Crestron that might be of interest to people?
So
it's not under NDA, maybe.
It depends on it depends on who we talk to, really, and whatever happens. We were at a trade show last week, we saw you guys there, and it'll be exactly the same when it comes down to ISE early part of next year. The first question everybody asks is, hey, so what's new? And it's always an interesting question, because Crestron launch a lot of products. We do through the year, and we sort of quite secretly launch products that come out, or we'll bring out a major firmware update that comes out to a product that we continually update those devices. So they have a whole new feature set that will appear, and we continually develop it. But it's really interesting for us as to how we're approaching customers' needs, because One Beyond, for example, comes to us at a high impact space. That's the rooms where somebody has a problem. That's where they're going to require an AV consultant or an integrator to really have a consultative approach with them. To sit down and look at their problem, work out what their challenges are going to be.
It's not a plug and play solution. It's a bespoke to the client.
It definitely isn't. And specifically by design, it's not like
Yeah.
that. And what we've had to be quite careful with, and to answer your question, within One Beyond, we've hit that big space, you know, those 12 cameras, the sight line, you know, the real high impact rooms, but actually working it then down to filter to those smaller spaces. By small, I don't mean little huddle rooms. I mean, you know, more those sort of medium to large size meeting rooms where a digital zoom camera is not going to be enough. Certainly when the person that's important always sits at the far end, you know, and by the time that it zooms up to them, the quality is, you know, degrades quite a bit. So by doing group framing cameras, and then by having as what we can do now without going to our full server solution, having multiple cameras that can work on gesture. And by gesture, we mean that when somebody walks, for example, they're all sat around the table, group frames, where they get up and walk to the front of the room, it will then transition and switch the camera to that presenter and then track them and move them as they're up in the area. And without having to go to the full complexity of specialist microphones, for example, to better pick that out.
Yeah.
Of course you can, and that's the next thing, but it's trying to fit, you know, each of those, you know, each of those spaces. But it is, and the age-old thing that we get, most people that come into our showroom, regardless of what they're looking at, they always say the same thing: it has to just work. That's the thing that people say all the time: it has to just work. And I'll often ask and say, well, what do you mean by that? You know, what have you had before? And they say, oh, well, wireless presentation, for example. You know, we were sold the dream the last time we bought this product, and we were sold the dream because, hey, it's easier.
Yeah.
And we'd say, okay, well, why is wireless easier? Well, there's no cables, so you just walk into the room, and in reality, with a lot of that technology, you had to be on a certain network, for example, or you had to have an application that was installed, or any of these things. So there were multiple steps to be able to present, or even if you were through all of those, you had to have a code to go into, you know, that room. So there was multiple steps. So in reality, what came to us is that people want the flexibility of not being bolted to one position, but actually what they want to do is just plug in. So we're seeing a real resurgence of that coming back.
Back to the cable.
Back to the wire. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But the flexibility behind that.
That's interesting, isn't
it? That's why we've got, and I've got a couple of bits here we can show you. Air Media has been a big drive for us over the last number of months, and we've continually developed that around.
Well, let's have a look at some of these toys. You bought some toys in, so
I have.
Always love show and tell.
I've got a hat for you. There we are. It's getting a bit colder out there, so
look at that bit of product placement for you.
Beautiful. There we are. You'll be talking town with that.
It's quite warm in here, but
it is.
Still a little sweat out.
Sorry, all my hot air. Yeah. So yeah, a couple of boxes here. I mean, the actual box, the Air Media itself. I mean, it's nothing particularly exciting. You know, the customer's never going to see this. There's a couple of different versions of this.
I think it's exciting.
This is there. If you like a black box, then you'll be delighted. So this is the 3200. It's the more integrator friendly version because it's got dual NICs on here. So if you want to be able to partition our networks on here for guest network or primary network, we can do that.
So just on that, just quickly, so the dual NICs, so the dual network inputs. So the advantage of that is people can join via CorpNet if they're local, or if they're sitting on the guest network, they can still join wirelessly, right?
Correct. Or if they want to be able to run this so that we can use like the control ports we've got on this side, but that's going to be on their AV LAN separately to the guest LAN, then you can do that with this as well. Yeah. So you can partition that on the box, which is pretty cool. The way that which you can talk to this particular one has got an HDMI input, okay, so that's if they wanted as a backup, someone can connect into it. But in reality, the way that people are using this stuff is they're using something like this. So this is, and we love a part code. So this is the AMTX3 100.
Ooh,
and
lovely, AMTX3 100.
That's it, and you'll be delighted to see what that is. It's a
feels good. It feels really nice.
It's very, very robust. Obviously, you've got that rubber cable on there because, again, part of the design we see everybody always yanks out the cable rather than the device. So it's been designed specifically to be used by real people in real offices. But that is a, without going too technical, that's a DisplayPort alt mode adapter. Okay, so our technology for all of our products are based around DisplayPort alt mode because it works with phones, it works with PCs,
got the widest
Macs. Exactly. It will just work for video and audio presentation, and we'll come into a moment on BYOD as well. But the use cases with that, you plug it in.
Yep.
It takes 2.5 watts from your laptop, boots up that device. That is then synced directly back to this Air Media, and it's a peer-to-peer. Okay.
So there's no exe files or anything downloaded onto your PC.
Your computer only sees it as if you're plugging in an extended desktop. That's it.
Just sees a signal.
And it just works. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does just work. Now, if you've got in that room peripherals connected, so maybe you've got a soundbar, or maybe you've even got one of our full intelligent video systems and distributed DSP or whatever else.
The beautiful V70 maybe?
Could be that as well, absolutely. This will work exactly with the video bar. That's connected to here, and then when you plug that in, it's configured so that will automatically take all of those USB peripherals, so the mic, camera, and speaker, back to your laptop, while still sending up that video to that display as well, without installing anything. Okay.
So on that, would you need to select it? So if you're on a Teams call, for example, because I've run into this before, and you plugged in your dongle, great, you can see your image, and you want to start a video call. Then do you just select? Will it come up as Crestron as a selectable, or
I always say should, just in case, but it should automatically appear because it's a trusted Teams device.
Yeah.
What it means that when you plug it in, as long as you're not in a call, because it may not automatically switch, but prior to opening your call, plug it in and it will switch over. And again, cleverly around this design, all of the peripherals appear as a Crestron Air Media device rather than a whatever camera, mic or speakers plugged in.
Yeah,
so
it's obvious.
Even if you had to select it for the first time, the next time it's a trusted device and it will just appear.
Amazing.
And the best thing about that is, say, you're not tied to any location. If you wanted to repair into rooms, you could have 8 of those connected to this base station. The biggest problem with that, and what we've had as feedback, are humans, unfortunately.
Always the way. Humans get in the way, don't they?
So the fact that it's super flexible, customers will say to us, well, what happens if somebody takes that and then they move it to another room, or they take it home with them, or anything like that?
Shove it in their bag. Yeah.
So we've seen people put them onto Kensington locks or fix them to the table, which kind of
car tire.
Yeah, I mean, all of the stuff that we've seen, it's crazy. So what we've got, that's the TX3 100. And then the next thing we brought out recently to combat that is a car tire. There you go. No, this is the AMTX3 200. To all intents and purposes, this is a boxed version of that. Okay.
Okay.
So
no dongle.
It will give you single USB-C via DisplayPort All mode like that, but it's also got USB and HDMI. So if you've got users that don't have USB-C on their laptop, maybe it's more sort of traditional vintage laptop, then you've got that connection as well. So HDMI just to give presentation, add USB, and it will then give you the BYD peripherals. Now, that's got a couple of tricks up its sleeve, because that is either as that peer-to-peer connected. So if you want to install that under the table, bring the cable up through, like a flip top as we sell at Crestron, then that will talk wirelessly from there to here. But if the customer wanted to, instead of having wireless, you can have that connected across the network. So that becomes a hardwired network connection between that and the base station. Also allows you to mount this maybe outside of the room, so you're not
interesting
on distance.
Okay.
Now, one other thing that does have, and this is another product we brought out, which we launched earlier this year, and they are selling like absolute hotcakes, is this, which is another device. So this is our
here we are, hot stuff. Hot off the press.
So that's our PSU midspan. To keep it really simple, that is a 100-watt charger.
Okay.
So the user comes in, they plug in their laptop, that will give a 100-watt charge to that device. The reason that we have as a separate box is that can be used to go with any of our USB-C products.
So you can retrofit it, basically.
You can retrofit it. So if a customer has got maybe these already and they want to add charge, you can do that. Maybe they've got a space where they've got our Flex X series, which we have a 60-watt charge on that device, and they want to put it to 100-watt. You put one of those in front and it will up it to 100-watt. Want to use it with our transmitter receiver pairs in a more simple application, you can add that on top.
So the idea is you'd have your USB-C current, which is not delivering power. Then you bolt this under the table, bolt the plug power this.
Correct.
And then runs through this, and then all of a sudden the USB-C is doing the same thing, but delivering power also.
Correct. And it's, again, it's simplicity is the design around that product. So it doesn't add any USB hops, so there's no additional tiers, because that's another challenge people have in USB design as well.
Yeah.
Because you run out of those quite quickly. It doesn't add any of those. So it's an absolute belting little product. And again, it was originally designed specifically to work with our MVX, which is our AV over IP platform, because as with all technology, with all of these, they're all PoE plus powered.
Yeah.
So we're designing the products so that they're configured and deployed across the network. If you want to be able to reboot that device or configure it or anything you want, we use Exo Cloud from our side, but you're managing those from your network. You're never going to get a 100-watt charge at the back of anything, of course, that's PoE powered.
No,
so you
go so far.
Add that on top, and then that then gives you charge where you need it. And in a year's time, 2 years' time, whatever it's going to be, suddenly the new standard isn't 100, it's going to be 200, 300, 500, whatever's coming down the line. You just change that box. You don't change the design and the infrastructure.
Exactly, yeah.
You're
just adding it in line. I remember seeing this at ISE and being quite excited about it. Quite sad in my old age. Yeah,
she was very unimpressed when I told her the most exciting thing at the trade show was a power supply. Yeah. But it's a massive problem. So, going back to this product, the reason this works so well is if they want to use Miracast, if they want to use AirPlay, if they want to have a completely flexible device, or if they want to have it so you are plugged in and charging, this covers everything.
Yeah.
And of course, it's been designed to work with all of our UC products as well. And it's just simplicity. And dare I say it, just works.
Just works. Crestron just works.
There you go.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for bringing these in. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
We'll wrap it up quickly, but one last question. What would you say is the biggest tip you could give people in the workplace now, in this new era? What would be your one piece of advice?
Good question. And you didn't tell me the question in advance, so I haven't even prepared anything.
Didn't, because I just made it up off the top of my head, if I'm completely honest.
The biggest tip, I would say, is within any technology that goes into the workspace is making it user-friendly. I mean, it sounds obvious to say that, but in the hybrid workspace, you are always going to have a mixed level of abilities, and within those abilities will then determine the adoption of how people utilize that technology. The number of times that we've seen some beautiful installations that have taken place, but they've been designed for one set of users in mind, and they haven't coped for actually what the real use challenge is.
Yeah.
Power is probably the biggest problem that we see in meeting spaces. Now, when you talk to facilities, they will tell us, and when we talk about design and the number of power sockets we have in flip tops, and obviously now with the midspan and things like that, don't worry, everybody will charge their device before they come to the meeting room.
Doesn't work like that.
They don't, because they used it on the train, or their laptop's old, or they just forgot, or anything else, or they forgot their power supply at home, or whatever else. So I think that's a really good example of just using the space as to how it's intended, and therefore the adoption will improve. And off the back of that, more people will want to come to the office. More people will want to be there because they get a better experience than what they have at home.
And that's a really good point, actually. A, that was a great answer because I didn't warn you about that. And B, that's right. Well, there's two things, right? You're right that sometimes in this industry we can all get a little bit carried away. We're all quite technical, and we can all get carried away in the whiz-bang things that these products can do, which means nothing if the users, A, don't know it can do it, don't have the education of how to use the rooms, and really all they want to be able to do is go in and have a meeting and not think about the technology.
It's got to just work. Yeah,
it's got to just work. It's all sexy magic in the background, and all they walk in with a laptop and hit it. Laptop stays charged. They can run a meeting and then get back to the work at end. And like you say, it's a really good point you mentioned about we in this industry have to up our game a little bit because we are competing with what it's like to work from home. And as a business owner, we have to make sure that our working environment is somewhere that's as good, if not better, to come than it is sitting in your lounge room or sitting in your home office where you've got all your creature comforts. There needs to be a reason, a pull to the office.
There does.
So
not just being yanked in because you're told
you have to go. Yeah. And I think it's on all business owners to sort of make sure that their businesses are set up to be usable.
Totally agree.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in. I really appreciate it. It's always nice seeing you.
Thank you for having me. Absolute pleasure.
And like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be great to get more viewers. All right. Thanks, mate.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers. Mate. Alrighty, done. Fuck, it
Bosh.
is hot in this.